What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Please Be Good so that I can have somebody to root for during this depressing ass season. As always, I'm your host, Zach Cronin, and today we are going to be talking about none other than future Brooklyn Nets or current Brooklyn Nets franchise cornerstone, Cam Thomas. Thomas is entering his fourth NBA season. He will turn 23 years old in October, and he has already cemented himself as the next guy for Brooklyn along with Nick Claxton. But beyond that, in the realm of the NBA, he has cemented himself as one of the premier young scorers that the league has. And I think that this season, he takes the leap and not only proves that he is an elite young scorer, but that he is an elite scorer overall, something that I think is undeniable. Although up until this point, the sample sizes have been pretty small. He has, of course, shown flashes throughout his career, namely in his second season when he had back-to-back 40-point games, and then this year as more of a number 1B alongside Mikal Bridges. He saw his best season. His scoring doubled. He went from 10 points per game to 22 points per game while maintaining respectable efficiency. And more than that, his volume was up considerably as well. He averaged about 18 shot attempts per night and had 23 instances where he attempted more than 20 field goals. And I expect that to be the minimum for Cam this season because this is the first time in his career that he will be the undisputed number one offensive option. There are, of course, plenty of solid players on this Nets team. Dennis Schroeder, Nick Claxton, Cameron Johnson, Bojan Bogdanovic. None of these guys, however, deserve shots over Cam Thomas. It really is that simple. You have this 23-year-old who shows shades of Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, and even a little bit of Jalen Brunson at times. You would be silly not to feed this guy. I want him to be overfed. I want to see Cam Thomas consistently shooting 25, 26, 27 times per night. Offensive rhythm be damned because Brooklyn is poised to be one of, if not the worst team in the NBA this season. I've seen their preseason over under totals for wins at 18 and a half and 19 and a half. They are playing for Cooper Flag. There is nothing serious about the end of season outcome for this franchise. Given that, it is in your best interest as an organization to further develop your young talent as much as possible, and that means developing a Cam Thomas centric offense. Now, I'm not a betting man. I don't talk about sports betting on this channel. I do, however, want to talk a little bit about it today, but only in so much as to further prove my point about my heightened expectations for Cam Thomas. Currently, at the time of this recording, his odds are plus 6,000 to lead the NBA in points per game this season. I believe that is like the eighth or ninth best odds. Those are, of course, courtesy of FanDuel. And I think that is a pretty decent bet to take. Of course, some of the other names in front of him include Luka, who is the favorite, Embiid, SGA, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, all of the typical guys that you would expect to see. And I think that the sports books and Vegas recognize that Thomas is finally in the driver's seat. The training wheels are coming off, and he is being strapped in to a Formula One car, albeit an extraordinarily slow Formula One car, one that is probably slower than the Haas car when they first entered the sport. I touched on earlier him having 23 games last season with more than 20 field goal attempts. What he did in those games was spectacular. He averaged 29.7 points while shooting a couple ticks under 46% from the field, which is staggering efficiency for a high volume player who isn't on a superstar level. If you took those point totals and extrapolated it over the entirety of the season and he had maintained it for enough games to qualify for the leaderboard, he would have been fourth. He would have been the fourth leading scorer in the NBA. And of course, that is kind of a fairy tale. That is a fantasy because there was just no way that Cam was going to be anywhere near guys like Luka and SGA last season because he is still an inexperienced NBA player. However, that year 23, that 23-year-old season seems to be the tipping point for a lot of stars like Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, especially when they are given the opportunity to thrive in an offense, which is a point that I am hammering home because Thomas has all of the skills to be the number one option on a good team. He does have considerable holes in his game, especially on defense. Guys, the turnstile, I wouldn't even consider him a turnstile. He's more of a saloon door kind of defender. His playmaking is a little but that's also not something that I think the Nets should task him with doing because that is not his best skill. And especially when you're playing him alongside a guy like Dennis Schroeder, a legitimate facilitator, just let him take his shots. He's already proven that he's a reliable three-point shooter. I think he's at like 36% for his career. He shot 38%, not this past season, but the season before it. He's pretty good at getting to the line already, and that's with him being a young player who doesn't get the star calls that some other guys do. And I think the one thing that impresses me above all else with his scoring is not necessarily his craftiness, but his shot IQ. His craftiness is, of course, something to marvel at because he's not the biggest guy. He's like 6'4", 210 pounds. He's not the most explosive. He's very similar to like a Jalen Brunson or a James Harden in how methodical he has to be to score his points. But one thing I really do love about him as a scorer is that he's very comfortable as a mid-range shooter. He's very comfortable creating shots in the 14, 15, 16 foot range. He's very comfortable like doing little things like reestablishing himself on a step back if the big is playing in semi-drop coverage. There is just a lot to be excited for going forward with this guy. And I do want to take a little bit of time to do a bit of film study on him. We're going to look at the game he had against the New York Knicks this past season where he scored 41, got off to a ripping hot start. And this really is an encapsulation of everything that he is as a scorer. Semi-transition, starts on Josh Hart, gets this beautiful lob off the pick and roll. This is Clax taking advantage of Jericho Sims' youth and inexperience. He just gets behind him. This is not defended that great. But shout out to Cam, who is at best, at best, an average playmaker. Him having enough sense to just put it where only your man can go get it. What you're also going to notice is something I've talked about in previous videos and more recently the video I did on James Harden, where being quick to change direction is as effective as just being a speed demon. Going from left to right, 0 to 100, is just as effective in creating points and putting pressure on the defense as it is going from baseline to baseline, as going from like 0 to 100 baseline to baseline. This is a great shot over an elite defender in OG Anunoby. OG is giving him the left. Cam Thomas, right hand is his strong hand, so this is fine. Not only do you give him the left, you are funneling him into help. You have Jericho Sims right here. You have Dante DiVincenzo, who is not covering anyone, so he's in free position to help. Cam realizes that he's not going to be able to get to the basket. I apologize. Dante is guarding Mikal Bridges. Cam realizing he's not going to be able to get to the basket for a layup. He doesn't have any advantage here. What does he do? Jump stop. Jump stop. OG on this contest is off balance. He is leaning a little bit. You can tell just from body position, OG is not able to guard him straight up in this instance, and that is just good utilization of change of direction. This was fantastic individual defense by Dante DiVincenzo here. Pokes the ball away not once, but twice. And Brooklyn is having to restart this possession with 7 seconds left on the shot clock, like 48 feet away from the basket. That is tremendous effort by DiVincenzo, but as we see a lot of times, as Cam gets a double screen here, great defensive effort is sometimes and maybe more times than not neutralized by great offensive effort. That is in terms of individual, not necessarily as a team. But the reason Cam gets open for the shot, and this is a bomb as well. This was shot from Yonkers, is because there's a miscommunication between Bogdanovich and DiVincenzo. I don't know if they were going to go for the screen here, but I'm expecting, or I would assume that DiVincenzo was expecting the switch. Bogey falls back, Cam steps back, and listen, you will live with this shot as a defense. You will live with a 36% 3-point shooter taking a step back 30-footer with 3 seconds left on the shot clock. And I will say, DiVincenzo is doing a fantastic job of guarding Cam Thomas here. 2 possessions in a row where Thomas has to work for these shots. But DiVincenzo is putting his body on Cam Thomas. He's keeping his hands out of the breadbasket so that way there's no way he gets called for a reach in. Like, young players, this is how you play defense. He is in a stance. He understands low man wins. Additionally, you can play super intense defense like this when you have a strong back line, which the Knicks do. But this is just fantastic individual effort. And what I really like from Thomas here is as he gets this circus shot to go in, he doesn't back down from this defense. And he just forces his way to the basket. We saw James Harden do this when he was younger. Obviously, Thomas isn't on that same timeline. He's still young. He still has a few more years to grow biologically, get stronger, faster, more resilient to contact. But he's also not trying to do anything fancy. Like, how he gets past DiVincenzo here is just body on body. He's shielding the ball, good gather. But still, this is just like a circus shot that players are going to make sometime. Great individual defense. The only issue on this play is, of course, the poor communication on switching, which I don't think the Knicks were doing at this point because DiVincenzo didn't switch the pick and roll on the last possession. I think they're just allowing DiVincenzo to play one-on-one. Thomas gets bumped here, loses the ball. The Knicks do not come away with it, and then it's a scramble. There's no protection here on the backside. Mitchell Robinson is over in like the corner. He's playing way beyond, not the corner, the free throw line, I should have said. So you'll take your chances here with Bogdanovic as your rim protector or as the rim protector on your drive. Just a good finish also. Great use of the body, great use of the rim as well. Great little obscure gather, unorthodox gather. That's the word I was looking for. DiVincenzo is playing the screen tentatively. He's not committing too much either way. He's not going to commit to beating Thomas to the spot on the screen, which is fine. However, Thomas dictates the position from that point forward. He rejects the screen because there's no point in using this screen and running right into Mitchell Robinson and then also into another defender. Just take the space. You have a lot of real estate here. Robinson is in drop coverage. If he continues to drop back and you can keep DiVincenzo behind you, you could pull up at the free throw line for a floater, for a jump shot, and then potentially an and one as well, because it's going to be difficult for the defender to reach around and swat that shot, especially with the elevation that Thomas gets on his jumper. Additionally, is Josh Hart going to help off of Mikal Bridges? He doesn't. And then also on the finish, if you do a traditional gather here and go up on the right side, there is a strong chance that Robinson blocks this. So what does he do? Takes what's open, forces, I believe that's Alec Burke, one of them. Fuck it, whatever. See what he's going to do. If he comes over to cut off the reverse, it's a dish to the corner to, I believe this is Lonnie Walker. But if not, use the rim to shield yourself from the shot blocker. That is the whole purpose of the reverse layup, is to protect yourself from the shot blocker by using the equipment. Straight heat check. And he banked it in. That's fucking crazy. That's not even worth analyzing. Once again, matched up with Anunoby. No switch, Jericho Sims in drop coverage. I love that he's so willing to take this shot. It's fantastic. This is wide open shooting practice. There is nobody close to contesting. There's also no threat of Anunoby, who does have the physical attributes to poke this ball back or swat it from behind. No threat of him at all. Just not great pick and roll coverage with this Knicks unit right here. Also, great screen by Clax. Yo, oh my God. Rainbow Six Siege flashbang right there. Holy smokes. Totally clears Anunoby on this. If you're the Knicks in this situation, I don't know if you play drop coverage. I don't know if you give Cam Thomas this shot, especially when he's already in a rhythm. I think you blitz, you make him put the ball on the deck, and you make him play make. Trust in Josh Hart over here playing in the corner. Trust in Anunoby to fight over that screen. Because if you blitz Sims there, maybe, maybe you give Anunoby enough time to recover. However, since it was not too high of a pick and roll, you might have Clax on the pick and pop. And shout out to Cam Thomas, for just recognizing the easy shot and taking the easy shot. You have DiVincenzo back. They do switch this one, although it's DiVincenzo switching onto Cam Thomas. This is beautiful. This is just great ball handling. You get a little hesitation here to freeze DiVincenzo. Boom. Gather, floater, one more dribble into the paint, and that shit is getting eaten alive by Jericho Sims. Excellent job on recognizing that the floater is the only way, because this is almost blocked by Jericho Sims, who, as we know, is a freak athlete with great physical attributes. But these kinds of shots, man, they're so important for young scorers. If you want to be a premier bucket getter in the league, especially at the guard position, you have to have an array of floaters in your arsenal, off of both feet, off of one foot, off of the wrong foot, from the baseline, from the free throw line, especially nowadays where teams don't always necessarily play small anymore. You're seeing a resurgence in the big man, and these big men nowadays are just freak athletes, and you have to be able to get your shot up over them. Rejects the screen, takes it right into the teeth. Great move, man. Attacking space. So there's the rejection. There's really no way that that Cam Thomas should be getting a layup in this scenario. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jalen Brunson has to commit fully on this help and allow these two guys to do something, but get the ball out of Cam Thomas's hands. And then just a great little double clutch dribble double clutch layup to get around the length. Good feed attacking the defense. Mikal Bridges notices that no one is keeping tabs on him. Let's see how this happens all off of just a drive. So he comes up off the screen. OG Anunoby is taken out of the play. Jericho Sims is now the primary defender on Cam Thomas, which means that you have a 3-on-3 on the other side of the court. The more you get to the basket, the more you're going to force Jalen Brunson over to help, and potentially even Josh Hart as well. If Brunson helps, you can get a cut from the corner, potentially. But depending on how this plays out, Brunson may just post up right here. And then Hart is the other guy who cuts off the free throw line. So Brunson rotates all the way over. Josh Hart slides down. DiVincenzo should also be sliding down to cut off the pass that inevitably leads to a layup. It's just playing numbers. Good screens. Oh man, being a good screener can make you a lot of money. That's if you're going pro. Being a good screener could put you through college. It's doing those things that big men are supposed to do. Not that, you can't be a Embiid or a Jokic, even though you're probably not, but you can take things from their game. But understanding your role as a big man is crucial, because that screen right there is what sets up this 3-on-1 on the strong side. Really good basketball. Really good basketball. This is uncharacteristic for Cam because he's not a dimer like this. Go at Jericho Sims in the pick and roll. It's worked for you numerous times before. He gets the switch. Claxton is able to slide behind the defense. And then all you have to do as the big here is just put your hand up. Let your guard know that you're open. Claxton doesn't do that because Thomas's vision was on a different level this game. We are now back to DiVincenzo being the primary defender on Cam Thomas. This was, I don't know what the numbers say on that, But just from watching these possessions and these possessions where Thomas is scoring, by the way, DiVincenzo appears to be the best option for the Knicks at this point. And you can see here, great denial. Yeah, DiVincenzo gets beat here, but he runs Cam Thomas right into Mitchell Robinson. They're able to recover, which means that Robinson can slide back and take away the lob or the dump off pass, which of course is the eventual end of this play, but it doesn't happen so quickly. And Thomas takes a bump, has to reassess, and then this is just like, you live with it. By the way, the Knicks at this point are up 84 to 78. It's 78 after that basket. So something's working here. I mean, their offense came to play as well finally. Just simple. Through the leg, through the leg dribble to your strong hand so you can set up your shooting pocket over a 7-footer. Money cuts the lead to 3 with just over 11 minutes to play in the fourth. We're once again back. DiVincenzo on. Thomas. This is what I was talking about in the beginning, not being afraid of the mid-range. Mitchell Robinson, very clearly a better option defending the pick and roll than Jericho Sims. Not playing too far back in drop coverage, but also not blitzing. So that way Robinson allows himself to remain with Thomas. He reaches, however, allows Thomas to cross over, and then he just steps back, settles in to the open spot before either guy is able to recover. Another miscommunication here by the Knicks. I don't really know what the breakdown was. And Claxton also slides through untouched. So Thomas could have potentially lobbed this up, especially considering that the biggest guy on the court is damn near on the 3-point line. But he settles for the three. He makes the three as well. I mean, he spins around and he notices that no one's really guarding him. I mean, you're not going to try to fling this pass into Nick Claxton. Like it's not worth it at that point, especially when you're cooking like this. You just made a three a few minutes before. Take your chances. Great job continuing the play. Dribbles into 3 Knicks, 2 of them which just happen to be among their best perimeter defenders. However, you get the cut here by Trenton Watford because Robinson, it's not communicated. And also, since you have 2 guys stuck at the top of the key, and he splits his double team as well. That's how this play opens up. So he picks up his dribble right here, step through, no one on the back line. Easy. Robinson's backpedaling. Plus, he does take that little bit of the bump with the elbow, which is what allows Thomas to get the shot off relatively cleanly. He neutralizes the shot blocker by going at the shot blocker. Sometimes that works out great. Sometimes it doesn't. You really have to pick and choose who you do that with. Like, you could maybe do that with Mitchell Robinson. You're not doing that against Wemby. Certainly not. Yeah, just crazy shot making. This is also why I'm so. This is also why I'm expecting a lot from Thomas this season because he's just a bucket getter. Like he is straight up a dude who just puts the ball in the basket. Again, here we have another instance of him going coast to coast, splitting the double team. I mean, the game's over at this point, 109. This makes it 109, 107 with 5 seconds left. But he just has multiple shots on a weekly basis where it's like, yeah, there's only a select few guys who are getting those kinds of shots to go down with as much consistency. Very rarely do we see scorers who get lucky bounces. And those lucky bounces are necessary because a couple lucky bounces a week may or may not add like 10 or 15 points to your total. Yeah, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. As you guys can already tell, I am very excited, very optimistic about Cam Thomas this season will probably be like the only reason I tune into any Brooklyn Nets games this season, because it's just not gonna be a very fun season, although I have survived worse. But we'll see. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and close this video out. Thank you guys so very much for coming to hang out with me today. As always, everything I'm associated with is down in the description box below. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Drop a comment as well. It really helps out with the algorithm. If you do any of those three things, you will become my new favorite person. And with that, I will see y'all in the next one.